I really believe in that. So whether it takes one form or another, it's an art form to no matter what type of expression or genre that it's in. I'm always trying to say something or participate in a conversation about who we are.
Connie, I'll let you finish typing whenever you have to finish.
I'm good.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, I'm in Chicago. We have a major, warm up. It's like 45 degrees. So like
What?
feels
Wasn't
like I'm
it
in.
like crazy snowing just 3 days ago?
It was snowing. The snow is still here and it's like close to 50 and sunny. So it's like, I feel like an alternate universe. It went from like 20 degrees to like 50.
Schizophrenic weather patterns, I'd say.
I'm used to it. I'm from the Midwest. So this is what we get this time of the year. It's like, oh yeah, of course it's going to jump 30 degrees and, go from snow to like hoodie weather.
Yeah.
I love your background. Oh my gosh, where are you? That's such a like cool spot wherever it is that you're at.
It's my house.
Wow.
Yeah, my house. Yeah.
I love it. It's got that wooden and brick. It reminds me like a European style home.
Well, it's built in what's called a storybook style from the 30s. And using, in fact, German building techniques without any nails.
Really?
Yeah. And all of it is all using recycled timber and brick from the great earthquake in San Francisco.
Wow.
Another little tidbit is that this house has only ever been owned by women. It was built by a woman, and
wow.
It's like a little female thing.
I love it. How fitting. And it's unique. It catches, and I love the chandelier in the background. It's just a very unique looking home. I love it. It feels homey and comfortable,
It is very cozy, I have to tell you. Very cozy. My 14-year-old is a modernist, so he keeps on sort of plaintively wishing that we were living in a cookie cutter sort of modernist house.
Yeah.
But he can buy one when he grows up.
Right. I mean, this is your right. This is your choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Got plenty of sun coming in. I love it. That's a great.
It's super nice.
It's good to get away too. I feel like it's just like a quiet, kind of gives you that quiet space feel to it too.
It has that quiet thing as well. It does. It's like the walls are as thick as a castle, so that's really lovely too.
That's great.
In fact, as you can see, I have a tower as well. If you look, that's a tower.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. I like that it's not like everyone's just always going for the modern and techie and most things, but this is something that I mean, it's like you said, made by women, only owned by women. It's a unique look and feel to it that you can't replicate.
That's exactly right.
Fantastic. Hey, I don't know about, you made this movie a couple of years ago, but watching it now has a whole different feel to it. I mean, what is going on in the world? It's so unbelievable in so many ways. It's crazy how history sometimes sadly repeats itself and finds itself comparable, and I just constantly kept on thinking about what's going on now in the world and watching this film. Do you have a different feeling now towards it versus when you were making it a couple of years ago? It's an eerie kind of feeling, I guess.
In Europe, I don't think we've lost like the understanding that the Second World War was supposed to be a game changer. We were supposed to stop thousands of years of bloodshed built on, the sometimes very fickle desires for territory of various princes and kings and queens. And the idea was that we made these rules. The UN Charter after the Second World War put down this idea: no more aggression is allowed except if you are defending yourself. Every other kind of aggression would be illegal. And there was a reason why they made those rules. And that was because we saw in the Second World War why. 20 million civilians dead. I think a total cost to the world at the time was 60 million dead, all in. and then you kind of, have to say, when are we going to figure this out?
Yeah.
And I think that at the time when I wanted to do this film, it was really a very old-fashioned script in a good way, in that it still wanted to ask us to remember that these humanistic values that underlie this script, the courage to stand up to brute power, the power of music to talk across boundaries and across nationalities, and that speaks the true language of what we're supposed to be and aspire to be. Those things are important to me still. And now it shows why.
Yeah. It's crazy how some things, history reminds us of what, we think sometimes we've come a long way, but then we look back at certain things and it's like, wow, we didn't really get that far, especially with what's going on now. And, to me, this movie really resonated because I'm Polish. I grew up in Poland, actually. So this is like, these are stories I've heard of and knew, through like my grandfathers and stuff. And you being European too, you can attest to that. So for me, it's just like, it felt personal. I'm like, wow, these are areas of Poland I've been to, Łódź and Kraków, so I'm familiar with that. And it just like, when you're in Poland, you still, growing up there, you still had those remnants from the war and a lot of like certain places too that constantly make you remember what had happened. And Poland was also part of kind of during those times and pre-World War II, just, a place where people tried to create their country, and not being taken over. So it had a special meaning to me. I'm curious, did you film actually in Poland, those scenes? Because it looked to me familiar, certainly.
All of it was filmed in Krakow and in Łódź, all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It looked familiar to me. I'm like, there's something you can't replicate with a movie set. And I'm like, no, that's sort of streets and like things like looked familiar. Did it add to you especially, for a character to play being on a location as opposed to like a sound stage or anything? How much does it add for you to be kind of in a presence and try to visualize, wow, these are the locations that these things happen in?
It's incredibly important. I love being on location, and I definitely feel that I discovered so much about both Łódź and its background and about Poland. I also got to know Polish people today, and Poland too is struggling with sort of issues on, do they want to open or do they want to close their societies? And you have like this whole group of it's a young country to a large degree as well, and a lot of these young people want society. It was very interesting to see that dichotomy inside of the Polish society. And but it's also been great to see how Poland is totally standing by Ukraine right now, and they are aware of the risks to themselves as well, to this sort of imperialistic aggression. So it was very informative to spend that time in Poland, and I loved Poland. My father was married to a Polish woman as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I just had a conversation with my aunt called from Poland yesterday, and just kind of on the ground, kind of news, like what is going on in the country. And it's really interesting. It's cool to see, being from there, how they have, opened their arms and been helpful to Ukraine. I think it's because of the history too. We understand, where we were when we needed help from other countries during World War II, like in this film kind of illustrates too. So it's kind of interesting how, once you've been there, you kind of understand now, when your history, hold history close to you, and, how it impacts, it's crazy how history impacts generations. And I feel the film shows it. Now we're seeing it in reality. It's just one of these things you can't script.
No, well, we did, but
yeah, right. But life imitates art, It's unbelievable. I liked that this movie in a sense, like it's got so many strong actors in supporting roles like yourself and Stellan and Stephen Dorff. But I like how these younger, kind of lesser known actors I got to know through watching this movie.
So talented.
Yeah,
So talented.
so cool to see, Adelaide and Leo kind of get that so shine and see their talents. I mean, I wasn't aware of them, but I was so curious to know what else they've done after seeing that movie. I thought it was a great kind of coming out party in a sense for them.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely amazing. And I will say, they deserve to be seen. They are fantastic. They did great work as well. And they are just so very talented, both of them.
Mm-hmm. And it's good. It's like, I guess for you, it might be nice too, to kind of be in that supporting and see someone grow, in their career.
It was exactly that experience because, I also actually had other young child actors playing them as children.
Right.
So I did have that feeling of, having seen them sort of grow up and become adults, and they're just really lovely people as well.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I followed your career for a long time. You've done all sorts of genre. You've done the big franchises and the smaller films. At this point of your career, do you like to go for scripts that like maybe interest you, like something like this kind of off, it's not a movie that's like getting a ton of publicity and stuff, but it's like a hidden gem, I would call it. How do you kind of like relate to these scripts, and do you like doing that stuff and being at a point in your career where you can do things like that and then kind of be, in a sense, do something that might hold more meaning to you in that way?
I mean, I tend to try to make films that are meaningful to me. I would venture to say that there are some of those big sort of superhero movies that continuously grapple with ideas about who we are as people, and they do it in really interesting ways. So I believe in film as the way for us to really discuss and move who we are forward. I really believe in that. So whether it takes one form or another, it's an art form to no matter what type of expression or genre that it's in. I'm always trying to say something or participate in a conversation about who we are when I make films. And it really doesn't matter if they're big or small. And then there are some times, where a film, will maybe have some issues upon arrival, but, I've seen how many films that I've done, took on a life of their own after they came out.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's actually interesting because I was going to ask you, like, the impact that Wonder Woman had, I don't think many knew. And I don't know if you did while making it. When you look back at it now, I mean, we've had 2 Wonder Woman movies, but did you ever think it would become what it was when you were making it? Like, how do you look at it now as opposed to when you're kind of making it in that stage? How do you view it?
I felt it was going to be big. I felt it was going to be amazing because you have this feeling on set when something is working. Patty is an incredible director, and you feel her power when you're on set. What you can't always know is the audience ready to embrace this? What is the culture ready to embrace it? That sometimes can be a problem. But in this case, some things are so strong that the culture has to take notice, that the culture has to open its arms and receive this. And I think that's what happened. It was just so strong that, there's no amount of pettiness online that could stop this. It was a juggernaut.
It was really a culture change. I think that's well put in that way. We've heard from little kids and little girls, like,
boys as well. Like,
and boys too. Yes.
Boys lining up to be Wonder Woman. I mean, that was like the cool thing. And, that it was, if anything, was really proving that it was that this film, in going into gender at the same time, allowed everybody to go beyond gender.
And take the messages from it too. It was a universally kind of accepted and relatable film, even though it had these strong female figures, and I love the aspect of it, of the family too, the mother, the aunt, I thought that was like a huge aspect. That's what made Wonder Woman, that, backing that she had from home, and I think that's a kind of a good family message too, about, I was raised by women. I was raised by my mom and my sister, older sister. Like I only knew all my life, like women, in that sense about like how you raised by that. So for me, it had that message. I'm like, oh, wow, I can relate to that because that's who influenced me all my life.
I mean, when you're lucky, you get to have a mother,
True.
but everybody is born by a woman. It's important to note that everyone is born by, to a woman, and we feel, I think, all of us ready to move beyond these sort of distorted gender norms, but until we actually do, there's still work to be done.
No doubt. I think there's always work to be done. When you ever feel something's complete, it's like, oh, you're far from it then.
But I think you're absolutely right. I think that everybody thought that there's just no way we're going to have gratuitous aggression against another country in Europe again.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think, because especially since that had been so removed. Back to your movie times, from this movie that it depicts the last time. And here we are with a world that's evolved with technology and everything, yet we find ourselves kind of back to the future, in that sense, in an unfortunate way. So yeah, it's always being mindful, and what I enjoyed about this movie too, it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet story, that it shows that humanity sometimes can overcome, like, love doesn't have any boundaries, also too within, ethnicities, wherever you come from, what religion you are. And sometimes that supersedes even the scary stuff that happens on the outside too. That's something to look forward to from that. I took that from the movie too. It's like, wow, love is so strong that even, chaos around you can sometimes stop it.
Yeah, that is, I agree. But in this case, we are probably going to need a little bit more Air Force.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. Yes. And then people coming together for one cause in that way too. As I let you go, I'm fascinated, so you know like a handful of languages. Is that something are you curious about, different languages and cultures, something you do as a hobby, or is it something by necessity that you learned? Or just like kind of blown away about all the languages you speak and that taken on?
I come from a very small country. We're 5.5 million people. And throughout my entire life, the state of Denmark saw its people as its true primary resource. We don't have oil, we don't have diamonds, we don't have gold, but we have people. And so we have invested an enormous amount of money in this primary resource, it's people. And so I went to school at the very tip of Denmark, very, very far away, small community. But our schools were equipped extraordinarily. And we had a very, very, very heavy investment in giving us the skills to be out in the world. And that part of those skills were not just STEM, but really like humanistic, humanism and languages. The humanity are a big part of my upbringing. And the idea of grammar, the founding idea of the meaning of how we put together words is something that's even presented to us almost in a philosophical sense as well. And it has always interested me. And I've had some pretty incredible teachers that really took pains to teach me the fundamentals of grammar, of the structure of language. And I learned it in Latin, in German, in French, in English, and then of course the sort of Saxon Nordic structure of Scandinavian languages as well. I then had the great fortune to do a TV series in Italy at the beginning of my career, where I got so little support that I had to literally learn to speak Italian on my own, on set every day.
Wow.
And in 3 months with that, with a large dictionary, I learned Italian that way. So that's really the sort of like progression of my languages. And I still to this day love the structure of language. I've learned Spanish while living here in California. because it's kind of complicated for someone who already speaks Italian and French, because it's a little bit of a mixture between the two languages. I had the option of learning either French or Russian, so I never did get to learn Cyrillic, which is kind of sad because I would have really liked to learn Russian, and I didn't get to learn Polish either. While
I was just going to ask, did you pick up any words or anything?
a few words I picked up here and there, but I've forgotten them since. What isn't reinforced will go by the wayside, right? So, but I am curious whenever I go to a place, any place I go to. Also, when I go to Kenya, where I also work often, it's interesting to me to understand the structure. And what's hard is if you've learned a structure, it's difficult to learn very different structures. You know what I'm saying? So,
I think that's wonderful.
A long answer, sorry.
No, it's a good answer. I think it's a very based in reality answer. And I think that's great. I think languages are important in today's world where we're so interconnected. It's such a great thing. And your country's doing the right thing, and I knew Denmark was a special country when I saw the outpour of love for Christian Eriksen during the Euros, and you knew there's a special community feel to that nation. And I think we saw it on a world stage. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. I was at every football match.
There you go. Hey, you have a great national team. So, well, hey, hopefully we'll see you in Wonder Woman 3 maybe next time.
Let's hope for it. Absolutely.
Hey, and in the meantime, keep on doing a great work. Loved your work in this film, and it's so cool. It was personal to me in many ways. I think this is a movie everyone should see, especially these days. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Connie. Hope to connect with you on the next one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.